That's Marvin Gaye, of course. Tammy Terrell, The Onion song on BBC Radio Manchester. Just gone 4:45, Thursday the 19th. Good evening, I'm Andy Crane. Thank you for listening. On the way, more music, Yazoo and Dionne Warwick, and some more sensible/daft answers to the killer question. First, though, let's turn our attention to something about which you'll be asked to vote sooner rather than later. We were having meetings about this issue only today here at the BBC in preparation to make sure we can give you the best possible coverage and that everybody gets a fair crack of the whip and the like. I'm speaking of the election of a mayor for Greater Manchester. The countdown is continuing. 5 candidates so far have declared. We begin to increase our coverage of the big issues as the election gets closer. The election, of course, is in May. But in the run-up to that, you're meeting the candidates. Andy Burnham, you'll know, as the Lee MP and the leader of Trafford Council is also one of the candidates. But a chap and a party you may not be terribly familiar with, Stephen Morris, is standing for the English Democrats, and he is hoping for your support in the mayoral election. He's sitting opposite me. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Nice to have you with us. I'll be candid, Mr. Morris. I'm not au fait with the English Democrats terribly well, except on the position that you have of wanting an English Parliament.
Yeah, our core policy has always been for an English Parliament to basically address the anomaly within the UK, where Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland have parliaments to look after their own affairs with directly accountable MPs, where England has nothing. We know through prescription charges through the hospitals that we've had items forced on us with the help of Scottish votes, and that's clearly not right. The English question and the English Parliament question has been gathering more pace over the last few years, and there is more support for an English Parliament now than there has ever been before.
It's probably a broader conversation for another day, because it then says, what do we do with the Westminster Parliament and the UK Parliament? Is that dissolved or not?
No, well, for our point of view, we would reform the House of Lords into a upper chamber of the UK, and the House of Commons would actually become the English Parliament. So there's no new building. There's actually less politicians, which everybody would love, and less lords and peers. All them 1,200 lords and peers will disappear.
Fair enough. Anyway, that's a UK-wide issue, and we're addressing ourselves with Greater Manchester. But is that something that forms part of your campaign here? Because you want to be the mayor of Greater Manchester. How does the English Parliament issue? What else does your party stand for? Are you a single-issue party?
No. We want English independence. We didn't want just out of the EU. We wanted English independence. We believe our tax money should be used here. The biggest problem that we've got is we're facing massive austerity in this country. Now, the other politicians all seem to be looking to compare us with London, how much funding London gets. Well, in the funding in England, the North West is actually the third in England for funding. But just up the road, you've got Scotland. They get nearly £1,500 per head more than us. So if we had the same level of funding per head in Greater Manchester, we would have £3 billion extra to spend if we was treated the same as Scotland. Wales gets more than us. So you've got 2 other nations getting more money than us just down the road, and that's not right.
But as mayor of Greater Manchester, you wouldn't be in much of a position to do anything about that, would you? I'm interested in what you stand for as an English Democrat wanting to be the mayor of Greater Manchester.
We want to put Greater Manchester on the map, and we want to put England on the map as its own identity. We're forward-looking. All the other politicians are backwards looking. They're looking at the EU. We've always been wanting to be open to the world. We wanted to attract businesses and do trade deals with the rest of the world.
Are you UKIP light then?
No, certainly not. UKIP are not interested in an English Parliament, although Paul Nuttall has said he is. It's debatable whether he would actually get it through, because his policy committee is the same ones who took it out of the last policy.
So out of Europe and out of the UK?
Yes.
Right, okay, but I suppose in a way the ultimate devolution is Devo Bank, when everything comes, we get our own money for the health service and the like, and you get control of Greater Manchester. I mean, in terms of Greater Manchester policies, the big issue at the moment is this spatial framework, building houses. I think you're against that, aren't you?
I'm quite clearly against building on Greenbelt land. Always have been.
Where do we build then?
Where do we build?
Where do we need all those? Because there's loads of people need houses, my kids included. Where are we going to put these houses, Mr. Morris?
First of all, we've got 3% of the housing stock that's vacant. That's without touching the brownfield sites. The spatial framework is actually a bit of a side issue, because the combined authority has already signed up to get the deal on this regionalisation, as we call it, which is not proper devolution, because that misleads people into thinking they're getting the same as Scotland and Wales, which they're not. It's a regionalisation which nobody's ever been asked to vote on. But what we want is the proper funding for this area. So that's what we're after.
in so much as, so as the Mayor of Greater Manchester, you have to champion the Greater Mancunian cause and give us the right funding. If you get the funding, we still have to come back to this, you still have to put the houses somewhere. And I appreciate that, the Mayor and all the candidates are looking a bit wonky on the spatial framework at the moment because constituents are not very happy about it. But the houses have to all, I've not one answer have I heard where they will go. I've heard lots of places where they won't go.
Well, some of the other candidates have come out quite clearly and said, like the Lib Dems have said, they will stop it.
Scrap it.
It's not possible under the mayoral system that we're getting put onto us. The mayoral system in Greater Manchester is actually a cabinet-style system. You're actually a chair of a committee.
Even with the approval of all 10 authorities, the mayor will still have the ability to veto it if he or she wants to?
No, that's not what it says in the actual policies. They won't be able to veto it. The mayor can only stop it is if they do a judicial review, which is what I've put forward. Now, we've looked into that, and that is the only way you can actually stop it. The mayor doesn't have the authority because they can be overruled, because it's a cabinet-based system with the mayor as a chair. And that's another item which they've not been telling the people. Just so you're aware, when the combined authority was set up, the councils transferred powers to the combined authority but never told people. And then when they've gone and done this devolution regionalisation plan, they've not told people what it was about. Nobody's ever had a say on it. And when you come down to the spatial framework, you've got to look at other items. It's not just the spatial framework plan. Everything to do with transport is in a different policy. So you've got to try and gather everything together. And when you gather everything together, there's very little weight in their arguments.
Okay, well, just because we haven't got much time, I'm interested in a couple of policies. You talked about transport. Would you advocate a congestion charge, for example?
No, definitely
not at all.
Definitely not. I campaigned against it in 2007, 2008. I was
a lot more traffic since then now, mister.
No, there's other ways to be able to combat congestion. Congestion charge, even with their own review of Manchester in 2008, only predicted a 10% drop in congestion. It was flawed then, and it is flawed now.
Okay. And just to conclude, because most people know whether they agree or disagree, they know roughly where the Labour Party are, left to centre, roughly the Conservatives and the Lib Dems and UKIP and the like. The phrase "not left, not right, just English," which is the phrase that the English Democrats use, it's a great phrase. I'm not entirely sure what it means. Where are you on the political spectrum?
Well, we take the best of each side. What we're saying is we had 13 years of so-called Labour, which use certain policies, and then you're having the Tories, and you're having a swing from left to right. So we might as well take the best of each one. Everything the Tories does is not wrong. Everything the Labour Party did is not wrong. So we take the best of each one, and that's what we say. We're not left, we're not right. We just work for what's in the best interest of England and its people. That's why we use that phrase.
Nice to speak to you. I'm sure we'll meet again, and as the election approaches, you'll hear more from Mr. Morris and indeed all the other candidates who would like to win your vote to become the Metro Mayor for Greater Manchester. Stephen Morris, who's from the English Democrats.